Heading right back in that canyon there. It's always fun driving to this trailhead because the approach along the eastern Rocky Mountain front is just stunning. So the trailhead is just over there in those trees. There's the boat ramp, and then the trail you can just see goes around that point and on back into the bob. Just freaking beautiful. I've been here many times, and this is the only time I've ever seen it completely empty, which is maybe a good sign. Hey guys, I'm Dan from ShastaBubba Adventures, and I am at the Gibson Reservoir Trailhead and just starting out on a new trip. And this is going to be a pretty simple plan. Just going to do a circle up one side of the North Fork of the Sun and down the other. Hopefully, I did try to do this same circle about 7 or 8 years ago, and after a miserable hour of post holing in the snow at this one point, I had to turn back and abandon the idea. But hopefully I'll be able to get through this time. Things are certainly a lot more promising this year because we've had very low snowfall, snowpack, and I think it's only about 50% of normal on this side of the mountains. I'm on the eastern edge, known as the Rocky Mountain front, eastern edge of the Bob Marshall Wilderness. And anytime I get to be in the Bob is a good time, no matter what the conditions are and the situation. By the way, the conditions are nominal. It's supposed to be about 50% chance of rain every day, except the last day that I'm coming out is going to be the best, of course, when I'm doing the least hiking, according to plan at least. So with the marginal conditions, I don't know if this is going to be a great trip or kind of a sufferfest. So come on along and see how it turns out. Let's go. This could be a bit windy. Well, the sun is hitting me right now on the back, but it looks like I'm heading into some weather. So hiking without the raincoat for the moment, but probably not for long. When the lake is at low pool, you can head off down that trail and cut right across this whole elbow. There's a trail across the flats there, and you only have to ford a small stream. But at full pool, we got to go the long way around. And in the corner there is Big George Gulch, which is a nice campsite if you need one fairly close to the trailhead. There's the nice protected campsite at Big George Gulch, and the stream is just right through there, so very convenient. And of course the lake is right there. Kind of hoping I can make it back to this spot by the third night, but we'll see if I can manage that. Getting towards the narrow pinch point. There's the pinch point that I was referring to earlier. This is called Elbow Gorge according to the maps, and you can just barely see a bit of a current coming through there. At lower pool, you can actually ride your pack raft through there. It's kind of a nice little extra at the end of the float. That's looking back the way we came. And there's Elbow Gorge. So that's Arsenic Hill, and we'll be coming back over that maybe tomorrow if all goes according to plan. But for now we're heading to the left of that butte to cross the bridge over the North Fork of the Sun. Good, how you doing?
Good. Where you heading?
Up the west side of the North Fork.
Oh, where are you from?
Kalispell.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, get over here quite a lot.
Awesome. What's your name?
Dan.
Dan Adam. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Adam. I know this used to be called the Click Ranch. Is it still?
No, the Click sold it to me.
That's what I thought.
It's been it's been 11 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 And you're happy with it?
Oh, I couldn't be any more happier and blessed to be here. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's been amazing. I have, I say young kids. My kids are in high school now, all, but it's been amazing for them to be up here, and you know, it's an amazing legacy to try to carry on from the Allens that originally had it, you know, to the Clicks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super blessed to be back here.
Yeah. Every time I've come back here, I thought, man, what a great life this would be.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, the people we get to meet, and somebody told me when I bought it, it'd be a labor of love, and that's what it is.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you guys got the hot springs.
Yeah.
And you probably do excursions too, huh?
Yeah, our main business is, you know, like 10 weeks of summer, where we do a 6-day stay.
Okay.
It's all inclusive here, and people just, you know, wake up in the morning and decide what adventures they want to go on, like you're doing.
Sure, yeah.
And then we do 10 weeks of mainly elk hunting.
Sure.
But a variety of other species that are up here too. Yeah.
Mainly up the North Fork, or?
You know, when we both summer and hunting, we're up both rivers, right?
Okay.
Just depending on. Really, it's people are here for long enough that they want to see as much country, even though we're just a small piece of it, right?
Sure. Right.
But see as much country as they can. So, yeah, especially during the fishing season, as you probably know, the South is so much different than the North.
Right.
Just the way it lays and the fishing.
Bedrock ledges.
Yeah,
and,
so it's fun to, and people, just depending on the day, prefer one or the other.
Yeah. Do you ever go up to Bear Lake?
We try to get up there. We get up there with guests maybe 2 or 3 times a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's just a spot on the map that I've always thought, someday I'm going to climb up there.
Oh, you haven't been there
No.
yet? Oh, it's worth it.
Is it? Cool. Well, nice talking to you, Adam.
Nice to meet you. Have a great trip.
See you later.
Right.
Wow, what a nice guy. Kind of makes me want to stay at the ranch there. How freaking awesome would it be to be right on the edge of the bob, but to stay in a nice cabin and soak in hot springs and do day trips already that far in? That'd be very cool. So this is the South Fork of the Sun River, right where it comes in to the reservoir. The actual Bob Marshall Wilderness finally. 7 miles of hiking to get to here. And if you do float this, you're going to want to take out at least by here, if not a little before, because then it heads right into that nasty canyon, which is, I would say, not survivable, but I imagine some people run it. You can see quite a few people have taken out right by that clump of willow there, I guess it is, up this trail, but you definitely do not want to keep going and get into that canyon. So that's the back side of Sun Butte. And this is the trail getting me up over this little hill and down into the west side of the North Fork of the Sun, where I hope to camp tonight. There's a bit of blowdown on this little side trail, which is not surprising given that it goes through a bit of a burn and it's not very well used. Pretty little stream. Really hate bushwhacking this time of year because it's just begging for ticks. So a couple of truisms I wanted to share with you about hiking that trail along Gibson Reservoir. And by truism, I mean it's accurate most of the time, but certainly not guaranteed. Number one, it's almost always windy through there. It's windy on the Rocky Mountain front, generally up and down the front, and far out into the plains. But it's especially windy with that landform forming like a wind tunnel right through the reservoir. So plan on it being windy, and sometimes some really severe storms can blow up out of nowhere, so you kind of want to be prepared for that too. Second is that it's a really hot trail to hike. It's southern exposure, and especially with those rocky sections, it just seems to radiate off that white rock. So it's a good idea to avoid hiking that in the late afternoon if you can avoid that. Third is that you almost always will meet a horse packer somewhere along that trail. Seems like it's always in the tightest, narrowest place too. And so that can be a challenging thing too. There's just a lot of horse traffic on that trail because there's so many places to access in the bob through the Gibson Reservoir. So if you're really smart, which I've never been, it would be good to do the drive over the night before your hike. And there's a really lovely campground right next to the trailhead. So you could spend the night in the campground and get a start early in the day, which you probably would eliminate all three of those problems because it tends to not be windy in the morning, certainly not hot in the morning, and maybe you would be doing it before all the horse packers. Well, I finally made it down to the valley, which just feels like coming home. The junction with the cutoff trail that goes over to the ford of the North Fork, just this side of Arsenic Hill, which might be taken tomorrow, depending on how well I recover tonight. I'm sure feeling it, this being my first big hike in a long time. This west side trail is just such a pleasant hike. If you ever are wanting to go along here, along the North Fork of the Sun, and it's a summer, really hot day, you're much better off being on this west side trail. The east side is fully exposed, but this is just wonderful. I love how thinned out it is. And it's also inviting. It seems like you could camp like anywhere. Just love the play of the shadows on the hill. I believe that's Elk Hill. See all the gophers popping up, checking us out. They're pretty thick and bold. Probably not a coincidence I'm seeing so much wolf scat in and around where all these ground squirrels are. I'm guessing that's wolf. It might be coyote, but there's a lot of it, like a banquet out there for them. Yay, I made it to Glen Creek. starting to wonder if I would make it this far today. But this is exactly where I was hoping to get to camp. Awesome. Lots of spots. Obviously a hunt camp. And the stream is just right over there. Well, that makes 13 miles for the day. Not too bad, considering I started at noon. And I'm really out of shape. But got to get set up now. It's about 6:30. And get ready for a cold night. It's supposed to be down to close to freezing. Hopefully I can get in a nice sheltered spot. Well, there's one tick I found. Well, that's not too bad. And it's a very pleasant place to be. You see the mountain peaks off in the distance there. Love it. I got my bear hang done, so ready to go to bed at any time. Well, I've had a nice simple dinner of cheese and crackers and summer sausage. Kind of glad to be eating cold tonight just to keep it simple and quick, because I am dead dog tired. More tired than I should be, I think. And not too sure what tomorrow is going to bring. Kind of depends on how well I recuperate over the night. Probably going to hit the sack early though. But before I do, I have a little confession to make, and you'll notice that I am burying this at the end of day one because I'm so embarrassed about it that I figure only my friends will still be watching this long into the video to see this. So here's the deal. This was supposed to be a pack rafting trip, and I forgot my freaking paddle. I cannot believe it. How do you forget your paddle? But I did, and I didn't realize it till I was 3 hours away from home. So no chance to go back and retrieve it and still make the trip. So decided to make the best of it. I do believe that the number one most important backpacking skill is being able to roll with the punches and make the best out of a bad situation. So that's why I'm just hiking. And I got to admit that there are some benefits of that, because the 43-pound pack with all of the pack raft gear was feeling pretty darn heavy. And I think it probably would have really wrecked me if I had pushed with that. So it was nice to unload it and just go with the usual ultralight gear, with the exception of the pack is not exactly ultralight. The Seek Outside Divide is a little heavier than I like, but that actually was another benefit that I have always wondered what it would be like to carry ultralight gear in that pack, because it does have super extra suspension system. Didn't really seem to pay off today. Maybe it's because I'm sore from not doing much, but overall I'm going to stick with my Kakwa, I think. Well, that's it for tonight. I'm probably not going to stay up and get a sunset shot. I'm going to hit the sack early, get a nice long sleep so I can be raring to go in the morning. See you tomorrow. Well, good morning. I'm just sitting here weighing out the possibilities, looking at my map, because I don't really have an itinerary here, and kind of playing it by ear. Boy, I sure slept like crazy, a solid 11 hours last night. It's pretty whooped. So that's affecting my plans today to a bit. Trying to keep it in a reasonable amount of mileage. Don't want it to be too little and just hanging out and not really having anything to do, although just soaking up the wilderness is something to do and kind of fun to not be on a big itinerary. But the only thing I'm really anxious about today is at some point I'm planning to ford the North Fork. It was kind of low for floating, but it might be a little high for fording, so be interesting to see how that goes. Otherwise, I'm just planning to head over to the east side of the river here and explore around a little bit. Today was supposed to be the most rainy of the 3 days, and I just was getting set up to lean against a log here and have breakfast, and it started sprinkling, so I threw everything into the tent to eat breakfast in here, and then it stopped. Only about 5 drops, enough to make me panic. Check your campsite. Well, it's really a relief to get everything packed up before it started raining. It's just so threatening. Felt like it could start sprinkling at any time. I don't mind if it rains while I'm packed up, and I don't mind if it rains when I'm in camp, but it really sucks if it rains during that in-between when you're either packing up or trying to unpack. That's the worst. So I decided that I'm gonna try to hit the ford first thing, get the scary thing out of the way. So I'm headed to the ford at Circle Creek, which I haven't ever seen before. Hoping I can get that done without too much trouble. It's 43 degrees ambient temperature and the water is frigid, so that should be interesting. See if I can still feel my legs when I get across. Let's go see it. For future reference, I hadn't noticed that there's actually a really nice campsite here right where the Circle Creek Trail takes off from the Moose Furman Trail, which is the technical name for the one I've been following. And here's the ford. Wow. That looks pretty bad. Wish I knew how deep that gets. Wow. Okay. That's an adrenaline rush. That was easily the most dangerous ford I've ever done. Crotch deep, frigid water, pretty strong current right at the deep part too. But I made it. Now I just gotta hike like hell to warm up. But this is where I get to go. Love that. Elk Hill. Isn't it just gorgeous? This is why this is one of my favorite places. Just stunning. Wow, check that out. It's awesome. That's the view back from where we came this morning. One of the drawbacks of that Moose Furman Trail, even though it's sheltered and nice that way, because it's sheltered, you don't get the view. Well, I reached the junction with the Circle Creek Trail and the main North Fork Sun Trail, which means another little ford. Maybe. Might be able to rock hop that. But I have to go across if I'm going to go up around Elk Hill. And I think I will, because otherwise this trip would be done too soon. And I don't want it to be done. God, I love it here. Hiking along this morning, a thought occurred to me that there will come a day when I won't be able to do this, and when that day comes, I will be looking back on fond memories of hiking, trying to conjure up the joy of being in the wilderness, and that's what I'm experiencing right now. So it's sort of a reverse mindfulness to think about, wow, I'm in the moment that I'm gonna wish that I could recapture years from now. What do you know? An elk on Elk Hill. Very cool. Hello, beauties. As if my cup weren't already overflowing. Oh, there they are. That's cool. I'm guessing this is the pasture for the Circle Creek cabin. Oh yeah, there it is. A really boggy trail to get through here. Oh, there's the cabin. There's the Cabin Creek cabin. I've been saying it wrong all along. And I think it's just starting to rain, so that's maybe some good timing. I might hang out on the porch for a few minutes. When I came by here the last time up over the pass, I was so exhausted I just saw the cabin from a distance. Trail runs over there, and I made camp just a little ways over there. Too tired to come and check this out. Looks like a nice little cabin. Got some white-tailed deer out there in the pasture. Looks like the sky's clearing up a bit. Well, I've decided I'm going to have to go for it up in that pass. It's about 2,400 elevation gain from where I am now, and could be a bit of a slog. A little worried about what the snow is like, especially on the other side. But I think it'll be worth the extra effort just to take a different route home. But before we take off, I have to show you something I found in the outhouse. Don't worry, it's nothing bad. It's just a quote from Edward Abbey that's tacked to the wall here. One final paragraph of advice: do not burn yourselves out. Be as I am, a reluctant enthusiast, a part-time crusader, a half-hearted fanatic. Save the other half of yourselves and your lives for pleasure and adventure. It is not enough to fight for the land. It is even more important to enjoy it while you can, while it's still here. So get out there and hunt and fish and mess around with your friends, ramble out yonder and explore the forests. Climb the mountains, bag the peaks, run the rivers, breathe deep of that yet sweet and lucid air. Sit quietly for a while and contemplate the precious stillness, the lovely, mysterious, and awesome space. Enjoy yourselves. Keep your brain in your head and your head firmly attached to the body active and alive. And I promise you this much. I promise you this one sweet victory over our enemies, over those desk-bound men and women with their hearts in a safe deposit box and their eyes hypnotized by desk calculators. I promise you this, you will outlive the bastards. Well, the trail goes up over that way, and we're headed for that ridge right there in front of the mountain that has a lot of snow on it. You can see just a little dusting of snow, but it doesn't look too bad. Well, the ticks are sure out. This is number 6. Gotta keep checking. I'm just taking a final break before the big push up over the top, and just ate some honey stinger energy chews. I can't talk. Which I always keep a pack of these in my bag for situations like this where it would be helpful to get a little extra burst of energy. Must have read my map wrong or something, because it said it was 2 miles to the top from Cabin Creek, but I've been hiking at least 4 miles, and there's still 1.5 miles and 1,000 feet of elevation to go. So I got some work cut out for me, but it's okay. I'm not in a hurry. Starting to see a little bit of snow in some shady places, which is making me a little bit nervous about what I'm going to see on the far side of the pass. About 600 feet from the top. Looks like I am gonna have to deal with some snow. The worst part about pulse holing through the snow is worrying about losing the trail. So far, it's just patch to patch, and I can see the trail in the dry spots, so we're still good, although it's taken twice the effort to climb this last bit, almost last bit. Oh, that was up to the knee. Oh. Okay, little break here. Sure glad I'm not going straight up over that. Pretty sure the trail's gonna hook around, give me a little bit better way to go. Well, GPS says I've just got 3/10 of a mile and about 250 feet of elevation left to go to the top, so it's got to be right there. There's a whole bunch of switchbacks, narrow, short switchbacks near the top. I made it to them, which is helping a lot because they're mostly snow-free so far. Can't go on very much longer. Beautiful view. Still holding on to the joy. Well, I've lost the trail, but I know it zigzags back and forth through here, so I'm just contouring straight up. Pretty sure I'm gonna hit it eventually, and the bushwhacking is actually going better than being on the trail because for some reason the trail holds the snow more than the bare slope does. I do believe I've made it. Whew, man. Yes. Just took about 2 hours longer than I expected, which I should have known better since I've done this before. Let's see what we're up against. Wow, beautiful. Well, I actually made it. It was a bit of a slog, but I'm over it now. A lot more effort than if I had gone back the same way I came, but much bigger payoff. This is this is gorgeous. Yep, not too bad. Well, the view is still awesome, although I'm unfortunately not out of the snow yet. But at least I'm out of the wind and heading down. That helps. Oh. That's just making my butt super wet. Ow. Okay. Well, that didn't work. Well, I've completely lost the trail. It's around here somewhere. Bunch of switchbacks, so I'm hoping if I contour down through this, I'll hit one of the switchbacks. Pretty sure the trail doesn't go over here. That doesn't look like it. So hopefully if I stay to this side of that chasm, that's where the trail will be eventually. Okay, well, I found the trail. It's a little hard to follow still, but that is definitely it, just as it's starting to snow. Well, sure glad I got over the pass before this hit. Won't mind getting down into the valley. Well, things can sure change fast in the mountains. And now you can see why I was concerned about finding the trail and not just bushwhacking straight downhill. Could have got pretty nasty. But still loving the life. Good times. Things have changed again. A little bit of blue sky peeking through. Doesn't look like it'll last for long, though. We've got a bit of a dilemma because it's 5:30 and I was kind of hoping to find a decent campsite right by this stream crossing, but there doesn't seem to be anything, and it is down in this really narrow sheltered valley, so it'd be a very cold night. But if I keep going, it's about a 600 feet elevation gain to climb out of here, and no guarantee that I'll find a better campsite. I think I'm going for it. Well, this is a very steep trail, which is good in the sense of getting it over with quickly, but it's making me work pretty hard at the end of the day. I think I finally see the top of this, so hopefully things will be better on the south slope. Well, this is the first open space I've seen in a long while, and it looks great. I'm gonna head down the far side of this to where I hit the stream and hopefully find a campsite. It's about 6:30 now. It's nice to get out to where you can see around. And see, all those mountains are looking pretty good. Well, I've decided to try to make an actual stealth camp. There's a lot of little platforms here that are really close to being flat, and I think I might be able to just eke out a little spot just big enough to lay in. It's pretty close to flat. I think that's it right there. Well, it's been sprinkling off and on, so I threw the shelter up really quick and threw everything inside, and that's always fun to try to organize things from inside the shelter when you don't have the ability to be outside. And it's getting to be 7:45, so this is one of those times where I could really easily just jump into the sack and try to sleep, because I'm certainly pooped enough, but I know it would be a cold night if I did, so I'm going to try to make some hot meal. What do I have today? Chicken Alfredo. Let's see how that goes. Well, that chicken Alfredo hit the spot. That was pretty good. I'll have to put the name of the company on the screen here because I'm blanking on it. And I'm also going to put on the screen the statistics for the day because I don't trust my GPS. It says 10.5 miles, and I think there's no way. It's got to be a little more than that. and I'm guessing it's about 3,000 feet elevation gain, but we'll see once I can get home and really calculate that. And just got to have a little dove bite for dessert. There's the bear hang, in case anybody thought I was too tired to take care of that. Not fantastic, but it'll work. And I forgot to mention the total tick count was 8 for the day. Hopefully I got them all. Guess I'll find out if I didn't. Well, it might be kind of a rough night. It's already 44 degrees, supposed to get down to 36, although I'm a little higher elevation than where that forecast was made. And I think I'm probably migrating downhill a little bit with the tent. Best I could do. And yeah, it'll get by. We'll see. Maybe I'll sleep like a rock. Anyway, that's it for today. I'll see you tomorrow for the final leg of the loop. Well, good morning. As predicted, it was kind of a rough night. It got down to 35 degrees and was sprinkling off and on. And I did migrate a little bit, although that stealth site worked pretty well for me. I was glad to be in the shade of the trees because the wind was whipping all night long. It sounded like a train coming and going. X-mid held up just fine, so that was no problem, but it seemed like it was sprinkling in the morning, so I got up and had a quick cold breakfast to hit the trail early before the tent could get too wet. Turns out though, it's more like grapple coming down, a little more snow than rain, so the tent was actually dry when I packed it up. Bonus there. So it's about 7:30 and I've got a pretty simple 5 or 6 mile hike back to the trailhead to close the loop. A little bit of climbing, but it's mostly downhill, so let's go. It was still only 40 degrees, so I started off wearing everything I own just to stay warm. One tiny patch of sun way off in the distance. Hopefully that grows. That's the pass we came over yesterday. Things are still kind of sketchy with the wind. The views just keep getting better and better farther south I go. And there is a tiny bit of sun. There is this really awesome place to camp that I knew about. I knew this was somewhere along here, but I wasn't sure how much further. I was kind of hoping to shoot for this last night, but I think I made the right choice to stop because this was another, I don't know, 400 or 500 feet elevation gain, which was no big deal to start the morning. But it would have been a slog last night. Plus, I think it's a dry camp, kind of up on a top of a hill, and don't think there's water around here. Nice place to take a rest though, and it's about an hour, yeah, exactly an hour of hiking from where I was. So that's that little dry campsite, and if you were wondering what's just over the ridge right beside it, a hell of a view. That might make a dry camp worth it. I love the sun and the snow. I've reached the point that I'm on just an easy glide path the last 4 miles or so. If you were looking at the map of Mortimer Gulch, you would maybe assume that it was a fairly flat trail, but amazingly it climbs over 1,000 feet up to where that dry camp area is. So just cruising on home. There's the first glimpse of the reservoir. Just can't get enough of that view. Cue the theme to the Sound of Music. That's just spectacular. With the exception of Adam that I talked to at the Click Ranch, I haven't seen a soul this whole time, or even a hint of anybody else. Just about 2 miles to go, and you start to run into ranches along here, which is a little startling, you know, when you feel like you're still hiking in the wilderness. But actually this is private land, and we only get to cross through here by their good graces. It's a funny thing about the Rocky Mountain front that all along the front it's like this, and you usually end up hiking about a half a day's worth before you hit the actual boundary of the bob. And that really affects the campsites in the Rocky Mountain front, because there's a lot of free-range cattle roaming around, and just about every decent campsite is going to be having a lot of cattle poop in it. How cool would it be though to live here? So I'll have to wait until I get home to put the final statistics on the screen here, but I'm guessing about 30 miles and about 3,500 feet elevation gain for the total trip. Not too bad considering I started hiking at noon on Friday, and I'll be back to the truck by 11 today. Overall, I have to say this trip was a good case of making lemonade out of lemons. Started out with a catastrophe, stupidly forgetting my paddle, but ended up being a really fun, joyful trip. Hard to have a bad day in the bob, I guess. Thanks for coming along. I'll see you next time. Take care. There she be. Safe and sound right where I left her.